how'd you end up as Shaq's co-host? Is that something, did you have to, I mean, obviously you've been working with him on Tuesdays now, but is that something that you had to, do you have to try out for it? Did Turner pick you? Did Shaq pick you?
He called me in August and said, "Hey, I want to take our relationship to the next level. Do you want to host my podcast?" And I was like walking around Brooklyn and I was like, bro, I'm not even going to ask anybody. Like, yeah, I'm in. Shaq and I have had, since our first Tuesday show together, like a very interesting instant connection where the first show, he showed up on set about 20 seconds before we went to air and was like, "I'm Shaq." And I was like, "I'm Lefkoe. Nice to meet you." And we start the show and he looks at my jacket, which was like small flowers. And he goes, "Are those bullet holes?" And I was like, you have like a full rundown and it's like your first ever national TV show. And you're like, you can barely hear him because his voice is so low. And I was like, "No, bro, these are flowers." Second episode, we're getting ready to tape a segment. And have you ever seen the clip of Bruce Smith when he collapses during an interview?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
He says, "Hey, man, you ever seen that clip?" I said, "Oh, man, that clip is wild." And he's like, "We should do that." And I was like, okay, so like maybe next week. And as I'm talking, he falls, trips himself, lands on the set breaks. Dwayne Wade and Candace Parker are like, "What? What?" I walk by because I'm the only one that knows what happened. And Shaq rolls over and winks at me. And that's when I realized, I was like, this guy's a 14-year-old. And then we did a video where he really likes when I do white guy voice. He just thinks it's hilarious. He's like, "Do white guy voice." And so we made a few videos where he was like lip syncing me doing white guy voice, and it went viral. It was like a few million views. And that's when he would keep saying to me, "You and me can really do some crazy stuff together." Like he always like love. He says, "You have a really good marketing brain." And so over the years, like I'd pitch him things and he'd pitch me things, but he would do his own podcast and I had my own podcast. And I guess when it opened up, he just reached out and it's been really cool to see the reaction to the really heartfelt things that he says. Like the crazy stuff is Shaq, like we're used to that. But when I watched like the Shaq doc that came out, you begin to realize like Shaq and Charles are both so much more intelligent than they will let you believe. And some of it is a character because they know that makes people comfortable. But if you doubt their intelligence, they're not going to look at you the same. But if you embrace their intelligence, then you can really tap into some really, really cool stuff. And Shaq is at a point in his life where he is brutally honest with anybody. He's gone through so much family wise, career wise, that now it's he trusts me, I trust him, we're going to have fun, and my goal is to throw 50 alley oops every episode. If we have a guest and I have questions that I really want to ask, but Shaq's on a roll, I'm gonna sit like this and remind myself to shut the F up. Because I I would say this, Brandon, like the one of the most valuable things I've learned is just because you're on TV and just because your friends and family are excited to see you, it ain't about you. And the quicker that you can realize that the best people in the host chair are the ones that make everybody else look great. And I think that's the reason Shaq and I get along. He wants me to shoot sometimes, but I'm very happy throwing hoops.